Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is well. We had the press conference for Ben Eubank 2, the launch press conference yesterday. It was hard to know where they were going to go with this because of all the shenanigans last time. Chris Eubank Jr. for me just came out with a tired act. Seen it all before. It was quite boring, quite tired, quite tedious. Wasn't really interested in a lot of what he was saying, to be fair. Coming out with loads of stuff. He came out with trying to say that Matchroom blocked his ambulance's exit for 20 minutes. Just fucking outrageous shit to say, really. Fluffed his words at the end. Parliamentary will be... procedure will... Yeah. You thought you overthought it, Chris. And you're a con man. You are a bit of a con. Look, listen, I respect Chris Eubank Jr. as a fighter. I respect all fighters. Right, that goes without saying. But when you sort of take this moral high ground about good and bad and all this, Chris, you're just a whore. You're just in it for the... And listen, I don't blame any fighter to be in it for the money. I want fighters to make as much money as possible. Do you know what I mean? So I never hold earning money against fighters. But just fucking call it what it is. Call it what it is. It was like the first time around. Don't say that the only reason you're in this fight is to punish a drug cheat. No, you're in it for a big bag yourself, because I ain't punishing a drug cheat, because you even bought Conor Benn a new Rolls Royce by missing weight. Now, a lot of people were kind of putting two and two together and saying that why has Conor Benn got the fine and thinking that fine went to the board. No, I think there was a contractual agreement that if he missed weight, the other side would be paid the money and he'd forfeit that cash to Conor Benn. So that's how that worked. But you're in it for the money, Chris. You're in it for the money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't fucking dress it up as being some valiant cause that it isn't. When it went to Conor Benn, and Eddie Hearn, I don't care what anyone says. Eubank was great in the first press conferences. He was. But he got owned in this by Hearn and Conor Benn. When Hearn pushed him on the comments of they blocked the ambulance, Hearn was like, say it. No, because you want to say, oh, so now you're bottling it. You already said it. It doesn't matter. You already said it. But now pushed on it, you bottled it a bit because Hearn's going, say it. No, because you might sue me. You're bottling it. And you've already said it, so it don't really matter. He went on to give Robert Smith a big fucking hiding. I mean, Eubank just loves giving money for the way. He knows he's getting that much of a bag. He can go on stage and give his ego a boost and do all that sort of stuff for the crowd. It's costing him. His live shows, the tour that Eubank Jr. goes on, is costing him heavily. Like a big, like U2 do when they go on tour, cost millions to ferry that whole show around. That's all Eubank's doing. It's investment. Eubank sees this as investment. He'll come out with the outrageous stuff. He'll come out with the accusations against Robert Smith, against Hearn, against Matchroom, and he'll come out with them knowing he's got to pay a fine. It's investment. It's investment in the show. It's investment in himself. It's giving himself a name. You got to remember the amount of podcasts and stuff that Eubank went on post Ben Eubank 1. He was making money. He was on GMTV. He was on a lot. This is just investment in the Eubank show, the Chris Eubank Jr. show. Cut to Conor Benn, contrary, very calm, composed. I thought Conor Benn was class in this. I thought Conor Benn was class. Never lost his rag. Gave Eubank his appreciation. So it was a good fight. It's a hard fight, a tough fight. And I thought he was going to give me. Stay calm, stay composed. You know, regardless of, leave the drug cheat thing aside, we're just talking about this press conference yesterday. I've always liked Conor Benn, to be fair, but I'll happily talk about the drug thing, and I've made many videos in that going into detail. I'm not going to cover that again, but in this instance, Conor Benn came out class, very mature, didn't let go with the silly stuff. It's quite funny when he said, Chris, I was in the gym the next day, you spent 3 days sipping fluids for a straw, you know. And then Eubank came out with I was so dehydrated, the toenail fell off. David Haney won, But I don't know. It's just sympathy seeking. It's sympathy seeking and moaning. And then later on when Conor Benn said, or Hearn said, all you do is moan, Chris, all you do is moan. No, I haven't moaned once. Yeah, you have. You spent your opening salvo moaning, playing a victim. Listen, there's only one reason you had to make these strict limitations, these rehydration. We can talk about rehydration and how wrong that is. But the fact is this, you and your team agreed to it. You could have foregone the money for the sake of your safety and for the goodness of the sport and for your moral high ground, but you didn't, because money was more important to you. That's it. Fact. End of. There is no argument. That is what it is. So, I just can't get on side of it. You can talk about how unfair it is. Well, you've made it unfair for yourself. You were given it, and then he said, well, we made the agreement, contracts were signed, it was the last minute, we got this, and we had to do it. Yeah. And for the good of yourself and for the good of the sport and for your own mental or your own moral high ground that's unshakable, you could have said no. For the good of everything involved. For the good of humanity, no. We're not doing it. We're not going to sell out. But you didn't, because the money's more important. So yeah, Ben was good. Nigel telling the story of them being in the shower. Nigel, that was the sauna, mate, not the shower. Funny, innit? So yeah, pretty entertaining press conference. Personally, I don't think this fight needs any selling, if you ask me. I said when the first one was announced and a lot of people were shitting on it saying no one cares, I said straight away in the video, regardless of what you think of this, regardless of you saying no one cares, you're talking crap. This fight will be huge and everyone will be on it. And it wasn't just the casuals, the hardcore were watching it as well. And even if they didn't watch it live, they watched it the next day. Even Simon Jordan, who said he wasn't interested at all, watched it the next day. But this was a little Ben Shalom interview from the weigh-in on Talk Sport. And I want you to listen to what Ben Shalom's got to say. We're going to have a little listen together.
To Ben Shalom, promoter of Chris Eubank Jr. He had his repartee with Eddie Hearn today. You had a bit of repartee with Conor Benn, unexpectedly.
Listen, I was expecting that from Conor Benn. He's I had to say, what are you famous for? What is the reason that this fight is you're even on the same stage as Chris Eubank Jr.?
Now, when Shalom said, I had to ask him, what are you even famous for? A lot of people said that was, or alluding to, that he was famous for being a drug cheat. I'm not sure he meant that. I would have took that to mean you're famous because your old man's name. Okay, now, Ben, at this stage where Conor Benn is now in Eubank's career, what the fuck was Eubank famous for? He was famous for his old man. So the same fucking argument applies. So your point being what? He could mean the drug thing. But Conor Benn was famous because of his old man way before the clomiphene incident. So, Ben, you're just talking shit because Eubank, when Conor Benn gets to this point, it'll be the same thing. And when Eubank was at this point now, it was the same thing. He was famous for his old man.
Reason. The first fight was incredible. It really was. It was a special fight. It was a special night, and fair play. It was a very close fight. But what Chris had to go through to get in that ring, a lot of what he talked about up there was true. The contractual clauses, breaches, the weigh-in, the media in the way.
Yeah, they were true. The contractual clauses, what he said about them was true. And you fucking agreed to all of them. And then you bitched about it afterwards. You pays your money, you take your choice.
Rehydration clause, the things going on with the board. He had to come through all that and then got in the ring and then still won. And now he's got Brian McIntyre in his corner. I think it's going to be a completely different fight. I think that was a night to get Chris Eubank Jr. and they didn't do it.
There was a moment in the press conference where Eubank said about Conor Benn, no, as soon as he takes a first right hand, he'll revert to type. And that may possibly be the case. Okay? But he's got Bomac in the corner. It ain't going to make a fuck ton of difference. Ain't going to make any difference at all. Eubank is Eubank. Eubank will always be Eubank, and Eubank will never change. In the same way that if Conor Benn gets his first clout on the chin, he'll just be the same old Ben. Eubank will be the same old Eubank. If you think Conor Benn is too far ingrained in his style now, then Eubank's way, way past.
before Spencer comes in, on the rehydration clause this time, the news at the moment is you didn't challenge it this time, did you or not?
This time?
Yeah, this time around.
This time, there is nothing in our... We aren't happy with the rehydration.
Oh, Ben. You didn't challenge it. What this time? This time there is nothing in our... Oh, let me just fucking be careful here. We haven't acknowledged it yet. Is that what he says? We haven't agreed to it yet. There's not. Can't quite say there's nothing in there. Fuck off, Ben.
Us. Chris isn't committed to that rehydration clause again, as of yet.
Chris hasn't committed to that rehydration clause again. Take that as you want. It isn't even. Now, Ben's got to say it isn't in there because you look like a fucking hypocrite when you sit there and you do all this moaning and bitching and then you turn around and say, oh, it's in there again, but we're fucking taking it because we're taking the bag. And look, Chris ain't just taking the bag, I'm taking a big fucking bag as well. No, it's not even in there. Well, I can't quite say that. We haven't committed to it yet.
And the initial time it was put in front of us, it was an ultimatum. It was the fight's not happening.
Now, this is important. And as to things I said earlier. So listen to this. It was an ultimatum put in front of us. Now, listen to what he says a little later on.
It's this. So Chris is in a difficult position then. Everything's been agreed. Everything. You're talking, we've gone through the contract, we've done every single clause, we get to the last.
Everything's been agreed. We're at the last minute. Everything's been done. Everything's in place. But this is important because listen what he says later.
I think it was, if I remember, maybe just before the press conference or something, and then it was landed on as an ultimatum like that. In the end, Chris is a money man and he accepted the challenge. Is it healthy? Is it right? Is it absolutely, should it be banned?
Is it healthy? Is it right? Should it be banned? All these terrible things. Now remember, you can get rid of this. You can get rid of this hydration clause. All this bad shit, all this, you can get rid of it whenever you want. But listen.
Absolutely. Did Chris Crawford have to need a rehydration clause against Canelo? No, he didn't. And so I don't think it should not be.
Thirdly, there's a good point about Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is an elite level, probably pound for pound, top 3 fighter in the world with a long established career. Conor Benn is a relative novice, and these are not excuses, these are just facts. These are just how it is, okay? Conor Benn is an inexperienced novice. And the other major difference between Crawford and Conor Benn with rehydration clauses is, I've said this many times before, and if you've watched Terence Crawford following closely, especially in between fights and in the gym, Terence Crawford was fucking shedding tons of weight. And as I said before that fight, I said the size and the weight won't be that much of a factor. When everyone was saying he's too big, won't be that much of a factor. Why? Because Crawford drops tons of fucking weight, okay? And when it got to the fight with Canelo, they weren't that big. The size difference wasn't really that noticeable, wasn't massively visible. They didn't look like one guy coming up from welter and one guy in established super middle. It didn't look like that. In this case, you saw the first fight. Conor Benn was tiny, noticeably, way smaller than Chris Eubank was. Chris Eubank being a way, way bigger man. Now, I'm not using this as an excuse. Don't get this twisted in the comments. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just explaining the difference between the two situations. They're not really comparable.
Right, absolutely not. And people could say, oh, well, he missed the 160. He missed the 160 because of what was going on. And it was...
No, Ben, he missed the 160 because he fucked that up. That's why he missed the 160. He'd made... The rehydration clause didn't come into play until after the official weigh-in, not the ceremonial, after the official, I believe. That's how it usually works. So from that point on, that's where the differences were. Up until making the weight, the initial 160, absolutely no fucking difference. So when you put out videos of you in the sauna, in the towels, which everyone in the game knows that's how it's done, but you put that out for pure sympathy, for a fucking bullshit narrative. Making the 160 was no fucking different than it had been for your last 4 or 5 fights.
To do with the weight, right? He missed it by half an ounce because of the timings and everything and the commotion that was going on in that weigh-in.
The timings. He was an hour late for the weigh-in.
given like 4 minutes to away, and it was one of the most ridiculous scenes I've had in boxing. The rehydration clause is what is a problem, and that is what should be not happening in this fight.
And Ben, so people understand people understand the rehydration clause.
Shouldn't be happening in this fight. Remember that.
For a world title, certain rehydration clauses that are in world titles are £12. The rehydration clause in this fight is £10, and that is it may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, £2 in fluid, but it's a huge amount. And I think that was the big problem, wasn't it? And the big arguing point, and still the arguing point going into
It shouldn't be allowed in British boxing. It shouldn't be allowed. Why can you put that into a contract? The fighter's safety is paramount. That's what the board are here to do. It shouldn't be happening.
And there we have it. There we have it. It shouldn't be allowed. Shouldn't be allowed in contracts. So how do you get past that? Don't agree to the fucking contract. Simple. Don't agree. It doesn't exist. It doesn't happen. And then to stand there and say the fighter's safety is paramount. Bullshit, Ben. If the fighter's safety was paramount, the first fight and the second fight wouldn't be going ahead. You talk shit. I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. It's there. In black and white, you said it. The fighter's safety is paramount. It shouldn't be allowed. So fucking boycott it. Don't take it. You won't, because you need the fucking money, because your business has gone shit and now you're on, what is it, fucking BBC or channel, whatever it is. And Eubank is just a whore. Simple as that. So fighters paramount is not safety. Not to you and not to Chris. Anyway, I've had my rant. I'll see you all soon.